play, send Devontae a motion and act like you're going to do a toss pass to him like you would MVS, fake it, and then sit there and then fake handoff to Jones. Let him go around behind Adams so that way people get to think. And then they're looking towards Rodgers. Before you know it, Adams is up the sideline on a wheel route. Just saying.
And I know this is going to sound funny, but my third one, the tight end group. The tight end group needs to show up and show out. And again, this isn't about numbers or catches or targets or any of that. It's about the tight ends in this offense have probably the most universal responsibility of any position group outside of the quarterback. Because there's so many multiple tight end formations, and they all are responsible for a lot of different stuff on each play. Because they motion, they've got some of them are lined up in the slot, motioning into the line. Sometimes they're on the end of the line, motioning out into the slot. They motion them out of the slot into the backfield. That changes their responsibility. There's just a lot for these guys to have to do. And when they are working and even Sternberger, what people don't realize is he didn't hit the stat sheet big time in his first couple games. But he was a really good blocker, and he ran the proper routes to eat up the defenders or the zones when he was supposed to, okay? He was a contributor to the success of the offense regardless of what excuse me.
Excuse the technical difficulties, folks. A lung just went out.
Ooh, well, my ribs are still kind of bruised and fractured a little bit, so they're a little sore still. But, but he still made, he didn't make the stat sheet, but he still contributed. So I want the tight end group to show up and show out, regardless of whether they're getting the ball or not. I think that's important here, especially because you're going to have to be balanced, I believe, in this game. I don't think this game can be one-sided either way. I think everybody's stats can end up being really good, but I think that's going to come from really being balanced throughout the game and just kind of hitting them from every different angle. All right, go ahead with your 3 for defense.
So I'm going to go out and start off with this, and I'm going to segue into it for my number 1. All right. I had a poll out earlier today that lasts until Sunday, mid-afternoon, right before the game. And it is coming off the bye week. We know we will have multiple people back at chances of helping this team after returning for 1 week or more before this bye week, and all are 100% currently. Let us know which one has a big day to try and help beat San Fran. Guess who's leading in votes? Ibrahim Campbell.
So that's your first one is Campbell?
My first one is Campbell. Again, I know I mentioned earlier, he's not a superstar. He does his job. He knows Patton's defense. I have no qualms about him being in here. Like I said, he gets a whole, basically another week of preparation added on to how to play this because he came in a week before the bye. Gets to prepare on the bye. Now he prepares the third week before 49ers, and then he gets game experience. He's getting almost double the preparation time to go ahead and get this set. And he gets everyone else set. Like when you have a Raven Green or an Ibrahim Campbell, you can go ahead and have guys like the outside corners play press man coverage. Watch this game, and I guarantee you'll see less use of zone coverage, and you'll see more man coverage because of guys like Campbell in there. Campbell and Tremont Williams, those two right there. Number 2, I'm going to come out and say this, clear and obvious. Za'Darius, Preston, the Smith Bros, and Mr. Kenny Clark, the whole pass rush across the board. We know they can cause havoc. But this game, guys, Joe Staley looks like he's going to be out again. Mike McGlinchey's banged up and he's still in there. I need to see Preston Zadarius Smith. I want to see Zadarius Smith break the 10 sack mark. I want to see both of our guys above 10 sacks. And I think it can be done. This is where I think they earn their paychecks. Games like this. If you notice, Jay, they always come up big against QBs when they have a winning record. The bigger games, the Smith brothers show up.
Well, yeah. That's when we need
Just
them
saying.
to show up.
No, I know, but remember how many times the past 10 years before these two, how many times have we watched the offense for the opposing team come on the field 5 minutes or less, and the pass rush won't even touch the QB? Won't even get a breath on him.
Oh, I know.
Preston's,
It's been frustrating.
last week before that, perfect example. Preston Smith, literally, it was 3.5 minutes to go in the game, basically puts the game away. Panthers had one last drive that came down to the last play of the game, but even before that, like I said, 3.5 minutes left, third down, and Preston Smith puts the hammer on Kyle Allen. Those two right there, I think, are definitely gonna make their mark, including Kenny Clark. We saw a resurgence of Kenny Clark 2 weeks ago, before the bye week, that we have not seen all season. That looked like Kenny Clark from last year.
I told you. And, oh, by the way, all of a sudden you've heard
did?
coaches and everything talk about, oh, yeah, well, he was injured, da-da-da.
Oh, gee, the fact that we've been saying that for months.
It's
okay.
like, I know what that kid can do on tape. Like, he's a guy
still graded in the top 15 defensive tackles.
injured,
That's what's sad.
but I wasn't picking on him, but I was saying, like, I know what I see when I usually watch Kenny Clark on film. Like, he wasn't below average because obviously he's got a grade, but his grade is usually like all pro. He's grading to be a good player. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like an all pro, like Hall of Fame trajectory type player.
Last week we saw the great Kenny Clark.
Yes. Yes. And
if that's
by the way, what the hell did that mean? The Smith brothers, they're so much more effective because there's nowhere for the quarterback to go, because then guess what? He starts moving forward and realizes he's going to run into a sack, and then they hesitate and they're not doing anything, and by that time he's getting cracked from all three of them. Like that. Look, the worst thing a quarterback can ever do is nothing, is indecision. For any period of time, when he stops making any sort of decision, that's the worst thing that can happen to him.
We've seen Garoppolo in games this year hesitate. We've seen him kind of duck down because he saw the extra defender.
They were just talking about
that's all the Smith brothers need.
James Jones, about those throws that we were talking about. And guess what else they were talking about? They're also talking about what I was talking about on Tuesday night that Dylan didn't like to talk about, how Carson Wentz has been off. When there is no
let's
pressure.
worry about that different. This is negatives
just
and
saying.
Positives for keys to victory, sir. We're going to worry about that.
So
at a different time.
your third key to victory for the defense.
Can you guess what it is?
Adrian Amos.
I hate you because that's correct. I hate you. Last week we saw it. He went back to his natural position that he played with in Chicago last year. He moved over and played in Pettin's defense here. He is I'll call him free safety number 2 because that's how Pettin plays him. We basically play our strong safety in Campbell. Adrian Amos made 2 game-changing plays in that Carolina game, and it swung the momentum right back in the Packers' favor. Also, too, this guy set the tone for defense, in my opinion, week 1. With that interception over Trubisky in the end zone, it just set the tone. And then Kevin King to come back and do it the next week. Adrian Amos is a leader, not by vocal, but by actions. This guy goes out and performs, and the defense responds around him. Garoppolo has 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, not including fumbles as extra turnovers. 10 interceptions, folks. It means he turns over the ball. We have DBs that can sniff the ball out for turnovers. And he's, like I said, he's got, I think, 4 or 5 fumbles added on that. So he's almost got a turnover for every touchdown pass he throws. I mean, Sanders and Deebo Samuel have a chance of not playing this weekend. And I'm not saying a little chance, it's a significant chance. Neither of them have practiced the past 2 days. Today was considered a limited practice, but they were on the sideline on bicycles, riding bikes for the stationary bikes that you would see at the gym, and then in non-contact jerseys with their helmets. They stretched with the team, and then that was it. Players who usually play the weekend don't do that. Devontae Adams, when he had his turf toe, did exactly that. He stretched with the team, went on the bike, went in for rehab, didn't play for 2 or 3 weeks. Did that consistently. So that's huge if they can't get that, because their wide receivers, I know our DBs are better than what their wide receiver core after Samuel and Sanders. But the biggie, George Kittle. And when Adrian Amos, folks, is back at his natural position like he will be this week, tight ends have a really tough time of getting plays made. Go look at what he did against Hawkinson for Detroit, who was this pumped up tight end. He knocked out 2 touchdowns of that man's hand, and people say he couldn't cover. I mean, tight end for Adam Shaheen for week 1 for the Bears didn't do anything. Adrian Amos can play the tight end position very well on defense. And when he's in that free safety number 2 spot, don't be surprised with him making plays. And there's one more, Jay, I got to add, not for defense or offense. I'm going to add a special teams one on here, too.
Ooh, special teams.
I think Tremont Smith gets a huge return. Not a touchdown, but I think he gets a huge return. I don't know if it's going to be on the punt return or the kick return. But this special teams return game has been very dead. And it wouldn't surprise me, and it's been talked about a lot more in the last week and a half. I know you've seen it, and it keeps getting mentioned. I think they're going to – because what I've seen from Tremont Smith is, Jay, Sean Menenga, the special teams coordinator, is literally telling him, just call fair catch, call it done, cool, and then move on. Or just let the ball bounce, and they'll take it from the 2. They need to give this guy more opportunities. Tremont Smith has really good averages on yards per return, either punt return or kick return. Let him take it out of the end zone 2 yards deep. He's got serious speed. We need to get that guy more returns, not just call him fair catches. I understand if it's 8 yards deep in the end zone, of course you're not going to get it. But 2-3 yards deep, give it to him. We've got to get that extra factor in there, because tough games like San Fran, folks, coming up, Minnesota in Week 16, you need those. You need those special teams plays. That's what can change a game. So that's what I'm going to add on that, Tremont Smith.
That's a good one too, because it is a 3-phase game, and you know what? Mm-hmm. I'm adding that to the rundown from now on, because that's a good one. We're gonna do keys to victory for the special teams. We'll just do one each because it's just special teams. But yeah,
how dare you?
Well, because there's not
Desmond Howard, eat your heart out.
So defense, my first one, I'm gonna have Jair playing man coverage again. I think is big. I think you hit it. With Campbell back. You saw more man coverage. That's what his strong suit is. That's why they drafted him. That's what Pettin likes to play in his defense. It's, he likes to play zones in certain situations because you can move, like on 3rd and longs, he'll play zones because then, you can play off because, and bling a blitz and all this fancy stuff. But for the most part, on 1st and 2nd down and in short yardage situations, he likes to lock you up and do it that way. So I think Jair playing back the way he was drafted and is great at doing, it makes a huge difference for this defense.
That's why you see red zone stands, because they're able to play man in the red zone.
Right.
When you got King and Jair bumping them off the line, you can't do anything.
Yeah. Okay. And the second one here